Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So that being said, look, you see the title, you want to know what they are. Let me get right to it. The three things that show more recently that we men did not start this are as follows. Number one, Lolo Jones. Number two, that article that man wrote. And number three, the clinician who took that article and decided to weaponize it. So number one, Lolo Jones has been said to have lived with a man before. I can't remember who it was, but somebody from the Baton Rouge area where she's from said, oh, no, I know she lived with a guy before. Then today I was in Discord. I'm not going to say which one it was, and I'm not going to say who. Matter of fact, I don't even know his real name, but he said that he personally knew a football player that used to smash, used to dig her out. Now, I'm going to tell you this for this reason. I don't believe in slandering chaste women, especially if they're Muslim. She's not, but I wouldn't do this even to her. However, we got two sources that have written that know something about her. One, having options, turning them down. Two, doing something that she's not supposed to be doing. At the very least, living with a guy. She ain't related. She wasn't married to the dude. Why she lived with him? She said she's never been married. Secondly, so that's two different guys, witnesses. They've not seen her fornicate. But what she's projecting, she's already not done. And so the evidence is that she is a born again, faking virgin. And you know what? I believe that she's not one and that she's faking it. However, my take on that is not necessarily a guarantee that she is. I admit, I could be wrong. It's not really my business anyway, but it's yours because you guys live there and you're the ones about whom she's crying because not one of you has wiped her up and started a family with her, even though the one thing she would not do that she should have to do was to check for a man. She should have to check for the man she wants. Why not? See, a lot of people get upset when they hear that a woman should have to do anything or make any effort to get the guy she wants. When they hear that the guy that she wants should not have to just come to her out the woodwork. This bothers a lot of women. The second thing that shows that we didn't start this is that article that apparently a white doctor wrote talking about men being single because of their poor communication. And this man, same man that wrote this, stated that the black community was an exception, that amongst black people it's really not black men driving the rates of being single so much. That's what he said. This corresponds apparently to the time at which black men became more and more open to dating outside of the race. What does this show you? What it really shows you, because let's be honest, if men in the West in general, where you have multiple races and cultures living there, don't know how to communicate with women, it's because there's not a right way to do it. Even men and women who come from non-Western cultures parentally, but themselves grow up individually in the West, don't have this communication down pat. The women don't care how the men communicate. It doesn't work. And the men don't know the right way to communicate, to which the women will respond favorably, because those ways are gone. They disappear and they vanish upon being raised on Western soil. Think about that. I don't make the rules. I just watch how they played out. What, you think there are no Brazilians living in the U.S.? You know there are. You think that there are no Colombians living in the West? There obviously are. I'm telling you, you're dealing with an environment, a cultural block that ruins the minds of the women to the men, and it does not tell the men to run away from the women. It only makes things bad for the women running to the men. I mean, for the men that run to the women. It makes it to where, you know what, you just can't do it right. There's no right way to go about it. Every way is wrong. That's what you're dealing with. You're dealing with a scenario in which there isn't a right way to communicate anymore. They all demand to be dazzled by hearing you say something they've never heard before. Anyway, this leads to the third thing. Comes from the second thing. That article was weaponized by sisters against black men. The sister's the one that has the absolute worst attitude from the very beginning. We already know that. If the Western woman does not have a right way to talk to her, the sister's the one that's even worse. Every way to talk to her is the worst possible way you could have thought of. Unless, of course, you're a non-black man. Or let's say, unless, of course, you're specifically a Wyatt or an Arab or a Chinese or a Korean. Somebody that, or somebody from South Asia. You're one of these guys that comes from a background that is known to look down on black people. Then you could. Because, you know, the fact that your people don't like black folks means that anything you say to her that's nice is just great. That's how she thinks. She's looking for an approval that you can't give her. You're already at a loss. So that being said, each of these things shows that it wasn't you. In the article, the guy pretty much admits that what he's talking about finds us as an exception. Lolo Jones has had options and probably fornicated at least twice we know about. I wouldn't say twice we know about, but probably fornicated at least twice, I should say. We don't know. I stand corrected in that previous sentence. Men weren't turning her away. It wasn't that. She didn't have to settle for what she doesn't want, but she should not be crying on video now telling us how hard it is. We didn't make that decision for her. She did. Boss, babe, I'm a virgin. You need to climb these walls to get to me. But then come to find out that high probability two guys didn't have to climb these walls. So why the hell should anybody else do it? Now, being from the Gulf Coast, I'll be honest. If I lived in Baton Rouge now, I'd probably talk to her and waste her time. I probably would do it. Because I've been that. And here's the funny thing. As a Muslim, I believe in chastity. I wouldn't be alone with her, wouldn't kiss her. None of that. Just waste her time. Then I say, okay, listen, I need to marry this first wife, and then you get to be the second. What? What, you thought you were going to be the first? You talking all this stuff about virginity, but you probably smashed at least 2 other dudes. You difficult. We know you are. Nah, this what I'm going to do. You going to be the second wife. I'll treat y'all equally, but you're going to be the second. Marry another MILF. Then she and I can go, and it wouldn't be no state marriage either. Not bringing the state government into that. Now, why would I do this? Because I already know, even though she and I are about half a decade apart in age, I already know, coming up along that Gulf Coast, that this type of game was first played on certain men, and that was me. And it wasn't anything I did to provoke or deserve it. And now it's pretty much, and there were some other guys, a few other guys that would have had the same thing done to them. Now it's pretty much most guys. Look, that's not all, there's more. But these are three things that have happened recently that show us evidence that it ain't us. That clinician, though, that was really something, because the clinician took the article that was written without brothers in mind so much and then decided to weaponize it against us. And she said, I'm not judgmental in the office when you're actually one of my patients, but nonetheless, shuck that fit. She still generally weaponized it against us, then gave a half-hearted punk behind apology. And the fact is that even women in the West that are crueler to their own men find us easier communicators. That Asian woman is hard on that Asian man in the West. That Latina is hard on that Latino in the West. I don't have to tell you how hard Becky and Karen and Amber are, because they're driving them into Thailand and the Philippines too. They've been doing that for decades. I don't have to tell you how hard they are. But when even they get with brothers with shines in the West, they got some attitude, and it may not last long, but they don't start off that way like sisters do. Even they find us to be better communicators than their own men. It may or may not be true. That's what they find. Apparently, it's not us. And she decided to take what actually showed evidence that it's not us and pointed at us like it's us, because the stereotype is that we black men are just a bunch of barking dogs that can't have intelligent conversations and go looking to start mess. Yeah, that's what I thought. Most of us ain't even like that. I hope that this message helps. Thanks for listening again. As always, black heart, black mind, blackout, assalamu alaikum, and black, heterosexual, non-select male power just because they don't like it. And black patriarchy until extinction or judgment day. This message, once again, has been paid for by the one creation that matches the speed of light. Darkness.